you learn in this activity, as Kara asked me to reflect on this, is that you need to recognize when you've already been overwhelmed. And I'm thinking Ed has already done that. The introduction of Sally Yates was extraordinary, and I think that needs to be recognized in an So, Kara called a few months ago and asked if I'd be willing to share a short reflection of my career as this Barkley Forum commences. And as all of you know, it is very difficult to say no to the Barkley Forum. And although it has been really more than a decade since I sat where you do now, I retain vivid memories of, while appreciating the gravity of the comments delivered by those who came before me, the debaters and I would much rather have been moving to round one. But yet, here we are. I am keeping your interest in mind, and especially that of finding a parking space, as well as Kara's directive while framing these comments. So, like a good second affirmative rebuttal, I have but 3 thoughts to share. The first is a comment on judgment, especially appropriate in this setting. Years ago, Richard Sodico, the legendary coach of the Bronx High School of Science, invited the likewise legendary Glenn Pelham of Emory to October's Big Bronx. And Richard invited Glenn to offer words of wisdom to the assembly before the tournament began. Judge Pelham, throughout his career, was a strong proponent of debaters only speaking so fast as they could be understood. He also believed that it was a responsibility of the individual speaker or debater to adapt to the judgment paradigm of the individual sitting in the back of the room. This applied to theory, to argument, and most assuredly to the process of public address. By way of illustration, he mentioned that as a visitor to another tournament, he was asked to judge a debate round. Before the round, he indicated to the debaters that he would and could only render judgment on what he clearly heard and understood. It appeared that the debaters appreciated the gravity of his advice, but apparently failed to heed it and delivered arguments in a very speedy manner. Judge Pelham was able to flow very few words and no complete arguments, and at the end of the debate, as he had indicated before the round, he voted for the team that articulated the greatest number of discernible words. The losing team apparently took exception to the decision while recognizing that it had been rendered by the legendary coach at Emory University. Judge Pelham further noted that for extended stretches of the debate, he had simply stared at the debaters, flowing nothing visibly registering confusion. Unfortunately, none of the debaters apparently glanced in his direction, or if they did, failed to read that audience of one. Judge Pelham's message was not lost on me, and hopefully not on the Lakeland debaters and other speakers with me during its telling. As much as you share of yourselves with judges each round, so too do those judges share with you. Thus, my first thought is this: be engaged with your audience. Be that audience a Glenn Pelham, a college admissions counselor, a potential employer or employee, business client, a jury you must convince, colleagues you hope to sway, or most importantly, a future spouse or partner. Be prepared to respond to the subtle and sometimes not so subtle reaction of those varied audiences as you seek to better instruct, inform, and persuade. Forensics uniquely requires you to embrace this concept in order to win now and to succeed later. A second insight to share from the experience of nearly half a century in forensics as a competitor and as a coach is that I have no clear chronology of events with which there is any overriding narrative driven by a specific winning strategy or overarching educational philosophy. What remains of those decades is snippets and moments and conversations and people, fans and bus rides and tournaments. I vividly recall the weariness of driving from Northeast Ohio to Atlanta in our first Barkley Forum, and the warm welcome as if an old friend by Glenn Pelham, validating both the journey and the uniqueness of this term. There are memories of elation from a victory earned through rigorous preparation and the deflation when a victory eluded us following equal rigor. There's an image of an ice storm that turned the Barkley Forum into the world's most expensive one-round tournament. Arriving at Harvard in near blizzard conditions, a one-round 1 a.m. final at Northwestern, and the joint staff and student freewheeling discussions concluded at the end of the University of Michigan Summer Debate Institute, often facilitated by Sherry Hall, offering instructors and students the opportunity to share concerns for the activity and often in the process altering its very practice. And there are the warm memories of the forensics community as collegial, welcoming, and supportive, despite the intensely competitive nature intrinsic to community membership. I realize now that no experience in my professional life required such a sustained demand of intellectual and physical stamina. It is likely that it is the same for many of you. It is only settings such as the Barkley Forum that you will be surrounded by others, fellow competitors, coaches, and judges of such extraordinary shared intellect who willingly challenge physical and emotional limits that would overwhelm most others. You endure these physical, intellectual, and emotional challenges each week through 3 athletic seasons, year after year, and for coaches, decade after decade. To your non-forensics involved classmates or colleagues, this appears another pursuit for a trophy. In the case of Emory and O'Keefe, or the very fortunate few a qualification to TOC. But those others are incorrect. It is not really about trophies or keys or TOC bids. It's about challenging limits, listening to and embracing criticism, growing from round to round and tournament to tournament, and at each weekend throughout life, reconnecting with this extraordinary collective of talent, often in common and noble efforts. Finally, a reflection on the myth of the Golden Age. Ted Belk, one of the most, if not the most successful high school debate coaches, once commented that we had the good fortune to be coaching during the Golden Age of debate. We had extraordinary institutional support, unique freedom of movement, and were witnesses to innovation and argument from traditional counterplans and critiques. It seemed golden, but we were incorrect. This is the Golden Age, led in large part by Brent Ferrand of Newark Zion and the Newark, New Jersey City School, who created an urban debate movement before the term existed, and created and continued under the leadership of so many others, including Emory's incomparable Melissa Maxey-Wade. There is now an opportunity to gauge your forensics for many who previously would not have sat where you do now. This is the age of forensics inclusion, and that's what makes this age golden. Hopefully forensics will reach beyond the urban into the rural, will develop effective processes for virtual competition, expanding opportunities for the homebound, and will see further expansion of the World of Great program, for which Cindy and Aaron Timmons and Sandy Berkowitz have been so instrumental. With each of these successes, future participants will embrace still more golden ages. Thus, you've been blessed in 3 ways. You have been prepared to understand that your message, as powerful it might be, is only as effective as your ability to meet the paradigm of a particular audience. Second, you are here. You are blessed to be a life member of the elite and demanding forensics community. And third, the golden age of forensics is the one in which you are currently a participant. Finally, as I likely conclude my forensics life with these comments, to each of you I can only recommend, embrace every moment of this experience. It has defined my life. It will define your life. Go forth, speak in debate, judge well, enjoy this moment and all that will follow. Thank you.